Welcome back. Today we are going to talk about the real root causes of cellular hypothyroidism and all of the contributors to stress that may be adding up to produce a kind of stress overload for you. So yesterday we talked about how stress impairs thyroid function, and I want to take that concept even further, right? So when we have prolonged stress, we talked about the fight, flight, freeze response versus rest, digest, and heal response. That was yesterday. So when we find ourselves in that stress response for too long, right? This may go on for days, weeks, months, years, decades, where we are spending way too much of each day in that stress response. So this is a prolonged situation, right? This can lead to functional hypothyroidism or cellular hypothyroidism. So let me explain a little bit about how this happens. There is a phenomenon called the cell danger response. There have been papers written about this by Dr. Robert Navio from Stanford University for years now. I think he started publishing these papers in 2014. And he describes two modes of cellular function. The first mode is, well, normal function, right? Business as usual in the cell, so to speak. And of course, you understand that everything, every organ, every tissue, every gland, right? We are comprised of trillions of cells. So when we get down to that cellular level, there is the business as usual or normal functioning mode. And there's also another mode, a protective mode known as the cell danger response. And this is a mode where the cells, having been signaled, right, with the cell danger response, having been signaled by the stress response for too long. So all these stress hormones are kind of flooding the system day after hour, day after day, week after week, and so on and so forth, right? Your cells have a protective capacity to kind of shut down, and they can kind of go into this hibernation mode called the cell danger response. And the reason this is significant is because when we are subject to this prolonged stress and we have cells in different parts of our body that are shutting down, kind of going into this semi-hibernation mode, the cell danger response, then they are not making energy, right? The little mitochondria, the powerhouses of the cell, are kind of shutting down. And they're basically in this kind of protective mode where the fire alarm has been going off. It's been going off for days, weeks, months, years, whatever. And we're waiting for this danger to pass. So the cells are not, whatever their job is, they may be in a gland that produces hormones, or they may be part of your digestive system, or your lymph system, your immune system, whatever those cells' jobs are. And cells can go into this shutdown mode selectively, cell by cell, tissue by tissue, organ by organ. When they're in this mode, they are shutting the door to thyroid hormone. They're saying, no, thank you. We're going to pass until this danger is over. And this is significant, right? Because if you are in the group of people with a diagnosis and you are taking thyroid replacement hormones, which means you are increasing the amount of available thyroid hormone in your circulatory system, and yet you are still having symptoms, that can be the reason why. When the cells are in the cell danger response, they can selectively downregulate uptake of hormones, including thyroid hormones. And so pushing more thyroid hormone into the system is not having that beneficial effect that we are looking for. It may have some beneficial effect, right? Because I said these cells decide selectively. And so there may be cells that are taking up the hormone and are coming back to more normal function. There may also be cells where the door's wide open and you may be developing hyperthyroid symptoms at the same time that you have hypothyroid symptoms as a result from increasing circulating thyroid hormone. So until we understand that thyroid health is not only about what's going on with your thyroid, that it also has to do with what is going on at a cellular level. And that picture at a cellular level can be very differential. Then we really don't understand the true root causes, and we cannot hope to change them, right? So now I'm hoping you're getting the picture here that we have to look at the effects of stress throughout the entire mind body. And this takes me to my next point, which is that what counts as stress can be very different, right? There are many different contributors to stress. There is, of course, emotional stress. This is what most practitioners think about when they say, minimize your stress. There are also infectious sources of stress. So these may be some of the things that you're already working with your functional medicine provider. There are physical sources of stress. So maybe a surgery, an accident, an injury, having a baby, right? These are all physical sources of stress. Then there are sources of stress that are due to toxic exposures, right? Whether that is mold or chemicals or something else. And so these are all contributors to stress. And so when we talk about your overall stress load, we are talking about the entire contribution from all of these different types of stress. And as I said before, if you're working with a functional medicine practitioner, you may be addressing many of these sources of stress. But for the emotional sources of stress, you may have been told find a mind-body method, or you may have been told find a neural retraining method. But not all mind-body methods, not all methods of therapy, talk therapy, not all methods of neural retraining address a very important source of emotional stress. And those are what I call the hidden sources of emotional stress. They are hidden because they are in the subconscious mind. They are hidden because we don't feel them, right? When we have these ongoing sources of emotional stress in the subconscious mind, we have habituated to that level of stress. What we may notice is that we have a very low tolerance for new sources of stress or stress in our life. We may notice that small things may set off kind of worry, fear, anxiety. That may be noticeable, but what we don't understand is that our baseline level of stress is just higher, and therefore we have, that very small level of tolerance for other stressors, current life stress, for example, right? And so the advanced neural retraining method that I use is very good. It is actually excellent for hidden sources of stress, for resolving hidden sources of stress. And that is very good news for the type of person for whom hidden sources of stress are a large contributor to their overall level of stress. And that is why we have the quiz. So if you haven't already, you might want to visit my website, TCNeuralRetraining.Solutions, and click the button there for taking the quiz, because the quiz is going to help you understand if you fit this profile of someone who has a significant amount of hidden stress. All right, good talking. We'll revisit tomorrow with our next topic. Bye.